Hi, it's Charlie Ziese with Stargate Pyramids. I'm really happy to have George Leonicak back with me today. George and I started a collaboration several months ago, and it's really been fruitful because we're learning so much from each other. And another new thing that I found out from George just about 3 weeks ago was the fact that he had discovered the 76.345 geometry in the Sri Yantra. And for those of you who are into pyramids and don't know, this is one of the most important sacred geometry diagrams, on the planet. So I was just excited by that. George is going to give us a little history on the Sri Yantra, and also talk about, show you these relationships. And George has also got a class that he's going to talk about where he's going to teach everybody how to do this. So I hope this is something. I'm sure you all will enjoy this. So I'm going to turn it over to George. Thanks, George.
All right, great. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks for the welcome. I just was going to start sharing my screen, but while I continue to talk, it says you'll have to enable me to
Yeah,
do.
that's right. Sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah, well, it's a pleasure to be back. And, it's funny how Charlie and I work sometimes. We're kind of working on similar things because he was looking at some images I sent him and he said, wow, that triangles of those, the way they look like the Sri Yantra. And that was maybe 3 weeks ago or a month ago. And I was like, oh, you reminded me. I forgot to tell you. I just came up with the method of how to draw the Sri Yantra using the 76.345 degree angle in relationship to the Great Pyramid. Now, this discovery, I can't take full credit for this. It's really part of Patrick Flanagan's work that he had a PDF, which I'll describe in just a moment. But I want to put this out here first is just to let you know that there's a method that I have created to draw Patrick Flanagan's method of drawing these 9 interlocked triangles in a very, very precise way. There's a free PDF, a 40-page PDF that I put together that shows you step by step how to go through the method and draw it right on my New Geometry Courses website. Also, with me doing the drawing of it by hand. So if you ever wanted to draw the Sri Yantra and how to do this diagram, which is an amazing diagram and a great meditative experience to do, this is so easy and accessible. Even a beginner with just the compass, the straight edge, and the traditional tools can go and draw this. It's a great introduction to sacred geometry. So there, just follow that out if you're interested in that. The New Geometry Courses, the Sri Yantra link at the bottom there, and we'll put that in the description too. So I just wanted to go over to history, and I mentioned Patrick Flanagan. He's the author of 2 books, Pyramid Power 1 and Pyramid Power 2, and maybe a third book in there. Certainly one of the early pioneers of pyramid research. I know, Charlie, you're familiar with his work, probably have looked at it quite a bit. I just found on the Sri Yantra research website that there was a PDF. I found this PDF years ago that Patrick had a method of how to draw the Sri Yantra that was actually based on the golden ratio version of the Giza pyramid, which has the phi slant angle here, phi ratio to 1 to the square root of phi for the height. It's essentially Kepler's triangle. Now, there's a lot of different methods of how to draw the Sri Yantra, but this one was particular to drawing it with the golden ratio pyramid and the construction. In the PDF, he doesn't go over any way of doing it with the circle constructions and the drawing. So he pretty much relies on the numbers, but the only reason when I was looking at this document about a month ago that it's popped out to me was I saw this number 1.0290856 in there. And when you're working with these numbers for a while and you're drawing the Russian pyramid and you're doing all this number crunching, these numbers just stick in you. They get into your mind, and all of a sudden you'll see it pop up somewhere and you'll be like, wait a second, I know that number. And I was like, wait, what's this dotted line down here, right? So I went and measured the dotted line that goes to the base here. And right here was the 76.345 degree angle. It was the first time that I'd ever seen it drawn in a sacred geometry design or anything like that. And, you know, I was really blown away by that. And it was really right there in the Great Pyramid construction drawing, right from the beginning, from the outer edge of the base here to the center. How do you draw that center, though? This was a question that Charlie and I were, well, how do you get that point? Well, that's where the hand-drawn sacred geometry techniques come in, and very easy to do, as you'll see in the guide. So Patrick came up with a method to do the downward pointing triangle with a 3, 4, 5 triangle, two of them sandwiched together, a regular Pythagorean triangle of 3, 4, 5. And that was how he did that. It was not an easy method to reconstruct because it was all done based on the values here. So that's where I came in and came up with the circle drawing technique to draw that. So just check that out in the videos. Here are my redrawing of Patrick's diagram down here. I've redone it over here to just, you know, make the values more clear, and did the construction, the GeoGebra to check out all the angle measurements, make sure they all checked out, and did the measurements of the golden ratio pyramid there. So just a few other things in here. I think Charlie's going to talk about this particular image a little bit later, but a few things I wanted to highlight here, and I think Charlie will too, is this yellow circle here to the blue circle exhibited a 1 inch diameter to a square root of phi, phi cubed diameter on the full diameter of the circle here. And that 1 to phi cubed relationship is something he's going to discuss a little bit at the end of this video. So I'm not going to go over the whole techniques I have on my channel, just an easy way that I've drawn it and show you how to draw it. I just wanted to discuss that with most methods of drawing the Sri Yantra, there is, for the most part, an accuracy in getting these 18 intersecting lines of these three, where the triangles cross, these 3 lines. There's 18 of those locations, and usually they're inaccurate. And the inaccuracy is when you zoom further into the image, as I've done here. So in this, on this Sri Yantra that we've done, when we zoom into this little red circle, this is the edge of the red circle here. When we zoom right in there, we'll see that, geez, it's barely even visible, right? But if we go further into that location, you'll see that there's a little imprecision at that node right there. You will never be able to really tell hand-drawn. I mean, it's depending on how accurate your hand-drawn technique is, very difficult to tell. But if I were to draw, instead of a straight line along here, if I drew a line from this point to that location at the red circle, and then had a broken line, that would be a 179 degree angle. So I basically divided that to 180 and came up with about 99.95% accuracy for those little intersections at those nodes, which I think is fantastic. I sent this method to the fellow Paul, who has that Sri Yantra research website, which this is some of the material from his site. He thought the method was great. He tested it out another way and came up with a 99.9.7% accuracy on it. So he thought it was fantastic. Now, the method of the hand-drawn technique that I came up with is a little bit more accurate than using 3, 4, 5 triangle. And I did the same method here. That is a 79.6 degree angle here with the broken line compared to the 79.9. So this is Patrick Flanagan's method. I just compared it to the one that I did just to double check and see if the method I came up with is slightly more accurate. The thing that's about the method that I did is you can actually draw it. This is not easily drawn. You have to, you know, deal with a lot of mathematics and probably a grid of some sort to lay it out. You just can't do it with the compass and straight edge. But if you go and check out the site right here again, you'll see that you can draw this with this PDF that I've done in the hand-drawn video lesson. So there was a example given at the Sri Yantra research website of an article that was published in 2021 that was able to reproduce all these interlocking 18 locations accurately to 100% accuracy, but it had a very, very complicated method. I don't believe it's possible hand-drawn. It took a lot of mathematical equations to figure it out. But if you want to do it yourself and have it connected to the golden ratio pyramid, especially the 76.345 angle down here, then give it a try. And I think you'll really come up with some fantastic results, and you can come up with a drawing just like this, and all those little intersection points are just beautifully done. And the angle is really hidden in here, the 76.345 angle. It's pretty much from this corner point of this upward pointing pyramid to the center of your diagram. That is where the angle is from here to the base here. So it's just nice to know that these sacred geometry designs, one as iconic as the Sri Yantra design, can have that bit of information about that very special angle that Charlie's brought our awareness to, hidden and embedded in the design itself. And that's what much of sacred geometry designs contain, are these hidden angles or hidden measurements or golden ratio, or there's just, the diagram is ripe with discoveries. And I think Charlie and I have discovered that so much, especially, I'm just going to transition, Charlie, to just talk about the pyramid class that I did this past January that was Charlie was part of. This is a class that I also have at the new geometry courses. It's the Golden Ratio Pyramid Workshop. And this was a fantastic class because before I did this class, I didn't really know much about how to draw the angle, and I came up with about 20 different methods of how to draw the 76.345 degree angle through sacred geometry hand-drawn techniques. And I share that in these different lessons. So there's 22 lessons in this instructional course, which I think is fantastic. And the site is really smooth and works very nicely. But in that course, I go over how to draw the pyramid with different types of techniques. There's a lot of different methods to draw this. We come up with a lot of different creative designs, and it will teach you all about working with the golden ratio. And then I go into how to draw and construct the pyramid nets. So you're able to make the pyramids and actually draw the pyramid, and then, draw the net of this and then construct it out of using sacred geometry techniques. And then I'd show you even how to make the cones with hand-drawn techniques as well, while also providing all the templates that I've made for this. So if you're really into wanting to construct or build the pyramids with hand-drawn techniques and learn how to draw it, this is just a phenomenal course. I was really happy with the way it came out. And if you're an artist and you love to do creative designs or want to work this angle in and hide it into your geometry, as a creation of your creativity, well, you have a lot of possibilities that exist with just working with the hand-drawn techniques. These are just a couple snapshots of the, some of the class of how we drew it and fit the cone into the pyramid. And we do it all with the hand-drawn templates. So this is the template of the Russian pyramid up in the top right here, inside the Giza pyramid template. And then we go over how all the forms connect together, meaning the two pyramids relate to each other, the Russian and the Giza pyramid. More images on the cones, getting it to fit in and then cutting out the cone. I mean, it's not easy to figure out how to make a cone, how to figure out that angle, but I came up with some nifty techniques to figure out how to do that. And you'll see some of these slides in other videos that Charlie and I have done. We didn't intend to go through all this material in this video because we have a lot of other ones that talk about how the golden spiral is on the face of the cone and how you can put 8 together. And if you look down at the above, you'll see that the spiral is kind of, looks flat to you, but it's actually going down the cone. A lot of other images on that. I also have this video from my apprenticeship group that's in that course. It's in the bonus material, how to draw the dodecahedron and show the angle going into the dodecahedron, and even provide the templates how to make that model of the dodecahedron with the imploding cones in the middle. So if you really get into this, you're going to have a lot of fun making something pretty unique that you're not going to find many other places. So that's just a quick overview of, some of the Sri Yantra integration and some of that course, which I think you might really enjoy if you want to start picking up sacred geometry and exploring it through these pyramids. It's a great way to get started. And I think you'll get a lot just from doing the Sri Yantra drawing and learning about the golden ratio pyramid from that one. And you're already working with the Russian pyramid angle in that. So this is my new geometry YouTube channel. I've got over 100 videos on sacred geometry, a lot of topics there to check out. And I have a Facebook group, New Geometers, great group there. They really went off running with the pyramids. They built a gazillion different types of pyramids and checked out all sorts of angles. So there's great information there, and it's a great group of people. So just once again, here it is. Check it out. There's a free PDF and the hand-drawn video lesson is my gift to you because I think you're really going to love it. I wish, just like Patrick Flanagan's material was out there for me to find, it really got me jump-started in working with sacred geometry. I have a feeling this can do the same thing for you. Once again, just check out some of these other things, the Facebook group. I got a Patreon as well, website and blog, and the YouTube channel. So I just want to thank Charlie for giving me a little bit of opportunity to share some of the things that have come through our work together. And the Sri Yantra was kind of the last piece that kind of was a real capstone for me to integrate all that work that we had been discussing into one of the most iconic designs. And I have to thank Patrick Flanagan for pointing me in the direction and then just sitting down. How can I make this accessible and drawable for you to enjoy, and how to connect to it so you can produce a drawing, like this all on your own and color it in and have it your own handmade Sri Yantra on your own. It's very satisfying. And if you want to go further in it, check out the pyramid course and build and construct the forms and learn other drawing techniques. I think you'll have a blast. So thanks again, Charlie.
All right.
I'll stop my share, and this is the one I did in the video lesson, and I go A, B, and C and show you all the techniques, how to get the page set up and everything. So it's all there, and just I'll just show the quickly just what a few of what the lesson, the layout of the different steps look like on here of just setting up the paper, getting the circles down, walking through each of the lines and so on and so forth. So there's also a little write-up at the end to discuss some of the things I discussed in the video. So enjoy, everybody. Thanks, Charlie.
All right. Well, I have a quick question that the audience, my pyramid people, they're all used to numbers and not drawings and so forth. So do you think that the fact that all of this is based upon the golden ratio and you have an infinite irrational number, is that what you think is causing the very minor, less than perfect intersections, or do you think it's something else in the Sri Yantra?
I don't think it has to do with the golden ratio on that.
Okay.
Because the majority of techniques that you see out there online, and I tested out a bunch of other versions that are on YouTube, says perfect Sri Yantra, right? So I was like, all right, I'll draw this up. So I followed it out. Every single one of them that have the title perfect Sri Yantra, when you get into some of these places, some not as good as others, you find these inaccuracies. It's very tough to get that. And even on some of the more classic examples that have been studied, when you zoom into those, to the level of precision, you'll see that it's very difficult to get those lines to intersect at some places. And when you're doing it hand-drawn, and if you didn't have GeoGebra hundreds of years ago, you really wouldn't know, right? You would just be like, just deal with the imperfections. You just try to draw it next time a little bit more perfect, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't. You just can't know 100% accurately. But
sure.
So it's not specific to generation. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
There are other parameters that the Sri Yantra can be assessed by whether it has an equilateral triangle in the middle, whether the two triangles above and below have a circle that will go around them, the inner triangles. And this one was primarily focused on, can you get those 18 intersections to overlap at the point? I wasn't aiming for the equilateral triangle. Patrick's method of drawing it wasn't aiming for that either. So that will be determined differently by using the golden ratio pyramid. It's going to be hard to get the equilateral triangle in the middle of the drawing for the last triangle. So you can learn more about that at that Sri Yantra research website that I had in there if you want to go over the different types of different ways that people test the accuracy of this diagram. He's got a great list there.
Cool. Thank you. Well, I have just one slide that I want to share with the audience, because once I see George's work, then I think numbers and ratios, and I have to do ratios and all that stuff. And I came up with some really fascinating stuff. And what I'm trying to demonstrate to the audience is that math and geometry become, you go from one to the other, but it all connects. And so sure enough, when you start to do numbers here, we know that the 76.345 geometry is associated with phi cubed. And so in three-dimensional scaling. So that's what I wanted to show everyone quickly. I took your diagram, George, and basically all I did was to say, well, let me do some ratio relationships here. And sure enough, I found phi cube relationships within this diagram, pretty much everywhere. So essentially what I did, I said that the ratio relationships among the three links, and let's define those three links again for everyone that we're going to be talking about. We have A here in the center, AM1, and that is 1.270196. And then we have N1M1, which is 1.029855. And finally, M1Z1. So these are essentially kind of like the three sides of the triangle, but we have the vertical truncated by this point M, which is the center of the circumscribing circle. But anyway, that is 1.618, which is 5. So with that kind of as background, I just want to show you how amazingly easy you can find phi cubed in all of these relationships. So in the first case, if we take AM1, which is again from midpoint up to the top, that's 1.272, and we divide that by AN1, which is 0.24293, we end up with 5.236, which is phi cubed, which is 4.236 plus 1. So we've got the phi cubed relationship, in that ratio. If we look at AM1 again and relate that to NM1, which is here, we're dividing 1.272 by 1.029, and we get a relationship of 1.236, and that is phi cubed minus 3.
Right.
The next relationship, if we go AN1, which again is 0.242, and we divide that by NM1, we get 1.029, which is equal to 0.236, which is phi cubed 4.236 minus 4, which is also equal to 1 over phi cubed. In other words, the inverse of phi cubed. And finally, if we look at NM1 divided by AN1, 1.029 divided by by 0.24293, we end up with 4.236 or phi cubed. So we found phi cubed in every one of these ratio relationships. And what's interesting is that each one of those relationships contains phi, but then we either add or subtract a specific whole number to achieve our result. So George mentioned this earlier, but I have it down here at the bottom, that NM1, we'll review this, which is 1.0290855, is the ratio of the slant height, which is would be in the Russian pyramid, the equivalent of Z1M1, would be the side going up to the top, to the height of a Russian pyramid. So we've got all of these relationships. Numbers become sacred geometric relationships, and they all seem to point to this phi cube geometry. So not much more I can say about that right now, but it's just fascinating to me to see the precision of the universe, at play here in something as simple as putting, the triangle in the Giza pyramid inside of a circle. So just fascinating results to me. So,
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that the square root of 5, of course, is 2.236. So it's
there you go. Okay. Yeah. So you could do it 5 minus 1 instead of, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and of course, the phi ratio, that's the formula. Square root of 5, 2.236 plus 1, which is 3.236. Divide that in half. So square root of 5 plus 1 divided by 2 is phi, 1.618. So 3.236 divided by 2 is phi. So there it is again. It's really that it's 1 in relationship to the 2.236 ending there, right? So it's
right.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, when you're working with phi and the golden ratio, it just wants to work out. It wants to show you its magic of how it's all interconnected, and you could jump around scales like that. It's amazing. There's no other number that I've worked with that has been so fluent and has the numbers repeat over and over again in these magical ways. So nice work on that, Charlie. I think it's pretty exciting.
Thanks. And I shared this with George, but in a few days, I'm going to be putting out a video that's going to demonstrate, in essence, when you look at the various powers of phi and its inverse, you end up finding another kind of an embedded Fibonacci series within those relationships. So I was just blown away by this. George and I are looking at it saying, gee, what's this all about? We don't know yet. But at least I want to throw it out there. I know, George, you do this with your students as well, just so if somebody has an idea, they can see it, and hopefully we can all learn from it. So anyway, George, I appreciate your being here today to show us this exciting new information about the Sri Yantra. And I hope my audience that you'll take advantage of George's offer to look up his free course. I took his first course on how to draw the Russian pyramid with sacred geometry, and was fantastic. I may, when I have time, I'm going to go take the other courses as well. So anyway, any parting words, George?
No, it's just a pleasure to be on here and share the sacred geometry with your audience here and get to hear about your discoveries. And yes, definitely inspiring times, and grateful to have hooked up, and exciting for the next unfoldment of where we're going to be going next together with this. So thanks everybody for viewing, and please, check out the class. And if you're new to sacred geometry, I think you could really access it and enter into this world of doing the drawings. And I think you're really going to love it.
Okay.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you all for listening, and you have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.